I work with addicts and alcoholics. And one young man in particular comes to mind. And I'm willing to wager that 95% of you know a very similar person. He is frustrating. He's destructive. He's manipulative. His actions suggest that he has no regard for others, or even himself for that matter. He's been arrested half a dozen times. He's lost track of the number of trips to the emergency room. He's been in 3 different homeless shelters in 3 different states. His ability to drive away the people who love him is astounding. His mother cries herself to sleep night after night, hoping and praying that someone or something would intervene. Well, one day her prayers are answered, and probably not the manner in which she prayed for, but nevertheless swiftly carried out by the local sheriff's department. He will spend the next 3 days detoxing on the concrete floor of county jail, the whole time knowing that when he gets out, he will have lost all his friends, his family wants nothing to do with him, he's less than broke, and somehow in that, he finally realizes in that moment that his life is headed in the wrong direction. Now fast forward 3 months later, he's completed inpatient treatment. And he's ready. He's ready to take on the world without drugs and alcohol. I believe him. His family believes him. A friend gets him a job. He meets a nice girl. He hits an occasional meeting here and there. One day, on a sunny, routine commute to work, he takes a slight detour. A detour that will turn out to be quite costly. At the end of the day, he's both drunk and high. Within weeks, he has lost his job. He's violated his probation. He can't find that car. The girl's gone. His family has asked him to go away forever. He has relapsed. And if and when he has another chance to stop, no one knows. Addiction is good at what it does. If addiction's mission is to cause as much chaos and destruction in a person's life, or to erode communities, or to devastate families, then it's getting the job done. If addiction's strategy is to get us lost in endless debates about what it's about, or what is it, or how do we fix it, then it's doing its job, and it's working. Today I'm here to talk about a logical, simple, cost-effective approach to lowering the impact of addiction on our nation. And my hope lies inside of one simple statistic. 40 to 60% of addicts relapse. Inside of that statistic, there is 2 logical and simple realities. 1, that people want to stop. And 2, that people do stop. And if we can find a way to lower the rate of relapse, we will drastically change every statistic around addiction. So the math is quite simple. We help people stay stopped. They stop contributing to the overall cost. $300 billion plus. Jail gets more and more expensive with each trip. Criminal justice statistics indicate that upwards of 80% of inmates are chemically dependent. Treatment is expensive, and it's hard to get into. But even more important, if we can lessen the reoccurring trips, then we'll have more beds. And if we have more beds, then we will have more opportunities to get people treatment, lowering the amount of active users. Death by overdose is far too common for the relapsing addict because clean time decreases tolerance, and doses and cravings stay the same, making them far more susceptible to overdose and blackout. Relapse destroys support structure. And this is where it gets really personal, because people are invested. People are invested, they've given. And when someone relapses, it can feel like a slap in the face. And families are often left with no other choice but to just walk away. If we want to do something about addiction, we will prioritize relapse prevention the way we do treatment and psychotherapy. Now for the part I like, solutions. I've been curious for the last 3 years. Curious about the people who didn't relapse. Even more curious about the people who seem to use recovery as a platform for living full and authentic, amazing lives. I asked them how. And all of their stories were uniquely different, but each one of them had two profound common denominators. Number one, they changed their brain. Yes, they changed their physical thought patterns, resulting in a whole new perspective on almost everything. And number two, they found their tribe. They surrounded themselves with people who would grow to know them, people who would lift them up, people they could have a mutual and reciprocal relationship with. I am part of a movement in Spokane, Washington, that has merged these two common denominators as a plan of action for relapse prevention. We are an active, sober community called Pura Vida Recovery. Pura Vida is a non-profit organization that offers brain-changing activities such as yoga, strength training, meditation, nutrition, workshops, all free for 48 hours of sobriety. Simultaneously, by participating together in these activities, we create critical peer-to-peer bonds and relationships. The core value of Pura Vida is one person helping another lead a full, productive, and serene life. Through volunteerism, education, and physical activity, we work to better our family, our community, and our world. In the month of March, over 500 people walked through the doors of Pura Vida, looking to strengthen their recovery. I hope Pura Vida sounds simple and logical. That's exactly the way we want it. Data strongly supports that the activities and community bonds that take place inside of Pura Vida strengthen emotional and physical sobriety. We are a volunteer-based organization that has enlisted the expertise and wisdom of local yoga coaches, meditation practitioners, nutritionists, strength coaches, and many more. At the same time, providing a platform for people with long-term recovery to help those who are new to sobriety. And we do all of this on an annual budget that is less than a police officer's or nurse's salary. As I watch Pura Vida change lives, I'm often reminded of a quote by Wes Angelosi. Go and love someone exactly as they are. And and then watch how quickly they transform to the truest version of themselves. When one feels seen and empowered in their own essence, one is instantly empowered. Today, as we cultivate curiosity, I ask you, what would the landscape of addiction look like if every city in the United States had an active, sober community? What if every city could form their own unique relapse prevention program? Could Austin, Texas have a clean and sober musicians warehouse? Could New York City have a sober art and film society? Could Honolulu, Hawaii have a sober surf club? And can I please come visit you all? What if we believe that every person in recovery, their recovery would be as unique as their own fingerprint? And the best thing that we can do to help someone change is to facilitate discovery. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the young man from the beginning of this talk wholeheartedly believed that when he left treatment, he would never use drugs or alcohol again. How? Because that young man was me. Somehow, some way, I walked out of treatment thinking if I just keep drugs and alcohol out of my body, I will go on to live a full, productive, amazing life. I was wrong. I was wrong not once, not twice, but 4 times. 4 times I would relapse, each time destroying everything I cared about, each time bringing me closer and closer to death with greater and greater consequences. As I sat in my 4th and final detox, it became very clear that my drug and alcohol addiction was just a symptom of my inability to participate in life. And that if I was going to live, that's what I needed to do something about. As I left that hospital, I knew there would be dark and lonely times ahead. And as much as I wanted to isolate, and as much as my mind was telling me that I didn't need people, I finally did the opposite. I surrounded myself with positive people. as awkward and as different as I felt, I continued to go back to that small yoga studio on the west side. I fell in love with a podcast about neuroscience that would teach me about the trappings of my hardwired brain. I would talk my housemates into going and doing small acts of kindness for our neighbors. We would shovel snow, or we would rake leaves. At the time, I was 3,000 miles away from home, living in a sober house. Just down the street was a humble YMCA. I would often go there with housemates or people that I met at meetings, and something magical happened. We formed a bond and connection. We made a friendship. And I started having conversations that I'd never had before. We would talk open and freely about our addiction and our life. We would listen. We'd offer feedback. We would share our struggles, and we would share our victories. One Friday night, walking home from the bar, I passed a loud and energetic pub. Quickly, I was surprised that I had no want or need to go inside. And in that moment, I realized that I hadn't thought about using a drug or a drink in weeks. And at that time, I realized that I was no longer the man I used to be. And through the help of others, I had found a way to reinvent myself. This would go on to be my life's work. A year later, I opened the doors to Pura Vida Recovery, which serves as an oasis of positivity in a neighborhood that's riddled by the effects of drug and alcohol addiction. The 14-foot sign on the front glass bears our community name. It makes a loud and clear statement that we will not be defined by our past. Our community name, Sin, serves as a beacon of hope and resilience. Thank you.